If Ukraine leaves, Putin says Moscow will stop combat operations against Kyiv but only on one condition. Amid the ongoing talks around ending the war with Donald Trump's 28-point peace plan, the Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday, November 27, that his country would end the war with Ukraine if Kyiv withdrew from territory Moscow claims as its own. Otherwise, Moscow will take the regions by force, the Russian president warned. If Ukrainian forces leave the territories they hold, then we will stop combat operations, Putin said during a visit to Kyrgyzstan. If they don't, then we will achieve it by military means, he added. Putin also said that the outlines of a draft peace plan discussed by the United States and Ukraine could become the basis of future agreements to end the conflict in Ukraine, but that if not, then Russia would continue to fight. We discussed it, Ukraine conflict settlement, with U.S. negotiators before my visit to Alaska. Afterwards, the 28-point list was formed. As I've already said publicly, it was given to us through certain channels. We studied this document. Following that, the U.S.-Ukraine negotiations took place in Geneva. As I understand, they decided that all 28 points should be grouped, Putin said. In general, we agree that it can be used as a basis for future agreements. But it will be impolite on my part to speak about any final versions, because there are none, he added. Russia's former director at the National Security Council said on Monday, November 24, that the peace plan proposed by U.S. President Donald Trump in the Russia-Ukraine war has certain parts that Moscow certainly would not agree to. He said that Russia has every incentive to drag out the negotiation process. There are elements of this the Russians certainly won't agree to. There are elements the Ukrainians won't agree to. But the Russians have every incentive to play this along, Jeffrey Edmonds, former director for Russia at the National Security Council, told CNN. There's no incentive for them to actually agree to this, but there's every incentive for them to drag it along, he said. You have to change the Kremlin's calculus on whether or not they can achieve their goals in Ukraine. That is the only thing that's ultimately going to bring them to the table, he said when he was asked what could push Russia toward some form of peace agreement. This came after U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, after a meeting with the Ukrainian delegation in Geneva on Sunday, November 23, said that it was a productive and meaningful meeting. Rubio said they will come back in around 1 or 2 hours, so he will not take questions now. We've had probably the most productive and meaningful meeting so far in this entire process, he said.